welcome back to another episode of the Polcast. We are here to speak today about one of my most bittersweet interests. As you can see, it's from Jujutsu Kaisen. No, just kidding. I mean, we're on episode 3. You guys know me by now. I love Jujutsu Kaisen. I love it. I do still love it. I just have a lot of conflicted feelings towards it because the writing is not great, in my opinion. Allegedly. Okay? Again, you know me by now. I'm not very subjective. I'm not. I'm not very objective. I am very subjective. I will literally tell you my opinion because that's what I'm here for. And this is all opinion, allegedly, right? But to me, nothing in Jujutsu Kaisen, because mind you, I've read the manga, I've kept up with the manga, I would read the leaks every day on Twitter. Do not come at me, okay? Okay, like I've been there in the trenches, and I've been there since 2020. I was there when Gojo was sealed. I was there when he wasn't sealed. Oh, also, spoilers, by the way, in case you were wondering. I've been there. I've been in the trenches. And I have been there through Gege Akutami's best and worst. I have. But I don't think I can do it anymore. And here's why. I don't think he has written anything of, how do I say this without sounding mean? Value? Not value, just anything of interest, at least to me, in the manga. Like, he's taking a direction that I just really have no idea what he's... Like, you can ask me right now, like, to put money on what the ending of Jujutsu Kaisen is. I would lose the money. I don't know. I have no idea what he's planning to do. I have zero idea what he is planning. And I do know that I probably not gonna like it. Like, at this point, the chances of me liking the ending of Jujutsu Kaisen are so close to 0. It's actually crazy. They're not 0, but they're very close. And here's why. Let me roll back to the beginning. Let me set the scene for you. 2020, pandemic. Okay? Everybody's in their house. I hear about this new animated show, Jujutsu Kaisen. And I'm like, I kind of read what it's about. It's not really up my alley. I don't usually watch things like this. I usually don't gravitate towards, like, fantastical, like, magical universes like these, because the power system tends to not draw me in. Like, it's not something I'm drawn to usually. And I know this is considered shonen, and I don't know, it's not something I would reach for normally, but Twitter was gagged because they're like, oh my god, I can't believe they're animating it, it's gonna be crazy. And I was like, you know what, let me tune in, because everybody in the timeline is tuned in. So I tuned in, and they grabbed me instantly. Like, the premise of being set up for execution in the first episode is a gag. It's a gag. Like, Juji waking up like, hey guys, like, what's up? And Gojo's like, yeah, you're gonna be executed. Gag of the century. Also, Gojo. We'll get to that. Because I have a lot to say about this story. So basically, I watched the anime as it was airing. And after that, I was like, I have to read the manga. Like, there's no way. Because people kept talking about Shibuya this, Shibuya that. And I was like, okay, let me catch up. I did. I haven't known happiness since. So that's what happened. I've been tuned in. And for those of you who are in the Jujutsu Kaisen trenches, like I have been, you guys know what League Night looks like on Twitter. It's always a battlefield. It really is. Like, you never know what you're gonna get. And it used to be thrilling. It used to be exciting. It used to be like, oh, where is this going? I've been reading the manga and keeping up, like, actively every week since, I want to say, like, the end of Shibuya, like, beginning of Culling Games. And I'll say something, okay? Again, opinions, allegedly. But I think Culling Games was wasted potential. And I know everybody's gonna come at me because everybody and their mothers love Culling Game. I think it's a good arc. But I got bored at some point because, okay, again, this is very personal, but I just really tend to really appreciate, like, character-driven stories. And that's what usually pulls me in. Like, with Jujutsu Kaisen, when I first started watching, like, the first episode drew me to Yuji. So, like, this kind, sunshiny boy, and, like, Gojo, obviously, we'll get to that. We don't have to talk about that right now, but, like, I much more gravitate towards characters than storyline. Like, if I like a character, chances are you're gonna get me to watch your show. Like, that's it. Like, that's why Haikyuu is so effective on me, because there's so many great characters. And that's why I watch so many other not so good shows that we might touch upon eventually in this channel, but not official. Who said that? Because it's not like some other like not well written shows, but like I was too attached to the characters to let it go, right? But here, it drew me like the cast, the main cast, the people you're seeing on screen right now, gagged me. I was like, yeah, I need to know what happens. So I was drawn in, but also I will admit that the power system and the universe really pulled me in too. I was like, oh, again, this is not usually I gravitate towards usually, usually, sorry, but for sure I was like, oh, I'm tuned in, like I'm seated. Like, what do you mean he swallowed a curse? I'm seated. And it was really well explained at the beginning, and I was following, and it was very interesting. It seemed like, there's not only so many ways you can innovate when it comes to like curses and like magic, and like there's only so many ways, but like this is so, it was so creative to me, like, and the way the powers were manifested on screen, like Megumi shadows, like really good. So I was tuned in. Okay, I was sat. And after I read Shibuya, which I still think, I know it's a cliche answer, but I think it's one of the best written arcs in Jujutsu Kaisen to this day, and I think it will remain that way. Aside from also Origin of Obedience, I love Origin of Obedience. Like the end of season 1 when Megumi and like the Yasuhachi bridge. Oh, gag. But also I love Megumi, so I'm biased. Like that. So I read that and I was like, okay, period, let's keep up. So all that to say that I care more about the characters than I care about the world, but I was still tuned in, right? So to me, that's one of Jujutsu Kaisen's greatest downfalls as the story goes on. Because mind you, I love, like, this gave me intense brain rot for like the last like 2.5 years. I love Jujutsu Kaisen. I can never truly hate it. I can't. Like, it's just so peak at some points. I have a Gojo statue right there on my shelf. Like, you can never make me hate Jujutsu Kaisen. But at the same time, you could never get me to praise it blindly. Like some people on Twitter insist on doing. Because the thing is, I fear people have gotten too scared of criticizing the media they love. Because, again, for those of you who have been in the Jujutsu Kaisen trenches on Twitter, you guys know what break week, like, between chapters looks like. Like, people left and right flaming you if you have an opinion, God forbid. Like, they're like, oh, you could be like, I don't think this chapter was that entertaining. And they're like, oh, how dare you, like, this is peak Gege cooked. No, not really. Gege hasn't cooked in a long time. In fact, I think he burned down the kitchen. And here's why. Let's get into it. So again, really tuned in. I am like gagged. I love the characters. I'm so appreciative of the moments we get of them just being kids and like Gojo having this ideology of protecting youth, and like the movie as well. Oh, Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, you will always be famous. We can get into that as well. But anyway, I love it. So I start reading the manga. I start keeping up, and everything goes to the absolute trash in calling games, right? Like, it's over. Gojo sealed. People are separated. The calling games, like Kenjaku's out here being like, okay, y'all, let's kill each other. And I will tell you something. First and foremost, it was confusing. Like, I know that it became like a meme and a joke to say like, oh, like me when somebody tries to explain the power system in JJK and like the rules of the calling game to me. Like, yeah, but also it was a meme, but it was also true. Like, it was very convoluted. It was, well, Gege made it very convoluted because it wasn't even that serious. Like, once you like got it, I was like, oh, it's essentially just like a type of Hunger Games, right? Kinda. It's a little more complex than that, but anyway. But like the way he phrased it, like the rules he added, I was like, what are you talking about? Anyway, so that was my first gripe. But then something that, again, I think Jujutsu Kaisen really lost the plot with, and by Jujutsu Kaisen I mean Gege. Sorry, Gege, by the way. No hate to you if you're watching this by any chance. I just think constructive criticism might help fine tune. I mean, it's already too late. I don't think you can fix it. But for your future projects, in calling games, it's really when he started to introduce a lot of characters at the time, and a lot of them were cool. Like, I love Maki. Like, we already knew her, but like the fact that we got more development, like, that was fun. Like mini arcs and like Hakari, like things like that, like, great. But also, it wasn't good enough for us to care. And by us, I mean me. I didn't care. Like, for example, I know this is very unpopular. I know Hakari, or Hakari, however you pronounce it, he's very beloved amongst the fan. I think he's the coolest. But I also don't care enough about him. You know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't get enough time to sit with him for me to care if he, like, you know, and that's not even like the biggest example of that, because we did know things about Hakari. We did know a little bit of him. We've seen him here and there. Like, we know him. And even then I wasn't that pressed about it. I was like, okay, I don't really care if I see him in the next chapter or not. Where is Megumi? But there's some other characters, like, there were one-offs that they just ended up dying in the middle of, I was like, what did we do all like that? Like, 20, for example, Also, very unpopular opinion, but Kashimo, I didn't care about Kashimo. I do not care about Kashimo. You can never make me care about Kashimo. I know he was cool. I know his power was cool. I know his design was. I don't care. I didn't care about him. I didn't care when he died. I didn't because I don't know anything about him. I just know that he looks cool and he shoots lightning. So I don't know. Deal with that how you will. In case you haven't clicked off after hearing that. Yeah. Again, I think Gege started to really. This is where he started to truly lose me a little bit because the Calling Games premise was really cool. Like, oh, you've separated them. Like, and Jago had this big master plan, and like having Yuji and Megumi scramble around for points, like, cause to save Sumiki, like that was beautiful. I don't criticize that. That was great. But again, too many like fights happen in between. And I know, like the argument is like, oh, but it's like a shonen, so it's like they have that action. Like, I don't care. We don't need a fight every 2 chapters. I don't care, okay? Because before I didn't used to care in the sense that it happened, but it mattered. Like they moved the plot along, and they had a purpose. Like, but in Calling Games, it just felt like some of them didn't. Like, again, there would be characters introduced to one chapter, then they would fight for the next, like, 4, and then they would die. And I was like, then why did we waste all that time for? I don't care. Okay, so that's very unpopular. But it was that. And then Calling Games, I could still do it. Like, pretty cool premise. I think it was a pretty good segue to what was coming. Because let me tell you all, if you weren't there for League Night for 2012, no, for 212, sorry, chapter 212, you weren't there at all. Like, that was a time to be alive in JJK Twitter. Oh my god. That was the chapter where Megami got possessed by Sukuna. Oh! Because then they reached Sumiki and like... And then she's like, okay, you have to go. And then she's actually being possessed by a demon. And like, he swallows a finger. Sukuna finally brings back the pack team with Yuji. And he takes Megumi hostage. And that was brilliant. Like, I froze, y'all. Gege, you gagged me. That's when he cooked. But after that, that's when it really starts to go downhill for me. Because I did not care a single bit for the arc that Yorosu had with Sukuna. Like, what was that? What was that? That was like 12 chapters. Well, I mean, I don't know how many I'm estimating. But like, that was like 10 chapters of nothing. Like, I did not care. And I know that that fight was quote unquote necessary for her to give him something he would later... Anyway, he would later use for sorry, I dropped my phone. For his fight with Gojo, I believe. I don't know. We'll get to that. But I didn't know. Okay, what was the reason of making them flirt with each other first and foremost? Second, like what? I don't know. Like also, it really pissed me off that they wrote off Sumiki like that. Like Sumiki was supposed to be like. And that's the thing about JJK. There's a lot of great emotional points that Gege brings up himself, and then he just never resolves or like writes them off. Like the whole thing with Megumi's like contention being like he's a sorcerer because he wants to protect Sumiki. He's not a hero. Like his whole ideology, like the way he relates to Yuji, like he wants to save his like all these things that are so important to Megumi revolve around Sumiki, and then we never get to meet her because she's like in this coma or whatever. And then we're like, oh, they're finally gonna save her. And then just to have her, like, be possessed by some random demon. And then just die. Like, she literally she dies. And, like, I guess the impact is that Megumi kills her. And, like, that's what Sukuna uses to sink his soul into the abyss. But it really, even, like, it could have been such a, more of a gut punch if we knew anything about her. Like, all we know is that she's kind and that Megumi cares about her. That's it, because Gege never took the time to, like, actually, like, we didn't even get to hear her speak outside of flashback. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, how do you expect me to care? I cared because Megumi cared. But if he had it, you know? You know what I mean? Like, it was underdeveloped. Again, he sets up this entire, like, relationship, like, this point, like, this is important, by the way. He loves his sister, like, Megumi's whole, like, he sets this up, and then he just never sees it through, because he kills her, like, she fights with Sukuna for, like, 10 chapters, and then she's dead. And she isn't even Sumiki, by the way, like, it's mess. I'm not even saying, like, he should have changed that Sukuna killed her with Megumi's body, because again he did use that to sink him into the abyss, but it should have been Sumiki herself, not some random demon. Just like her in her body, like defenseless, like kill her mercilessly and have Megumi like see like she wasn't even fighting back, like something like that. I don't know. So that pissed me off. I hate that arc. I don't like that mini arc. I don't know. I have no idea what he did that for. And then after that, everything just kind of, I don't even know what to call the next, like the unboxing arc. I don't know. Oh my god, that was also a time to be alive though. I will say, when Gojo got unsealed, y'all, like that was, it was incredible. Like high of my life, incredible show stopping. Did I feel like it was a little rushed? Yes, and here's why. I was so glad to see him out of that damn box, y'all. I was so glad. But also I felt like it was rushed because he just like appeared out of the box and then he just like immediately teleports to Kenjaku's like, we're gonna fight the 24th of December because that's when Geto died, and Kenjaku's like, period. First and foremost, what? Like attack him? Gang up on him, girl. Like, I get the symbolism, whatever, I don't care. And then second of all, we never get to see him have a conversation with anyone. Like, mind you, Gojo wakes up from this box where he cannot tell how much time has passed between when he was sealed and everything like that actually happened, and he doesn't ask any questions. He just goes straight up to be like, anyway, like he sees Megumi possess Asukura. Mind you, he has no context of this, and like he does give out a reaction with his eyes. He like, like he does have an expression on his face, but he never comments on it again. He like makes like a small like remark and then they let it go. Like he's not even, and this is another thing, and I know maybe the diehard dude bros might come for me for this. I don't care. To me, and to have the fandom, so I'm not alone in this. To me, and for have the fandom, Gojo. Gege made a point of writing Gojo and Megumi's dynamic as, like parent son, not really, but like mentor, like his, because even okay, like just think of this for a second. Megumi, his father a deadbeat, okay, dead by Gojo's hand, and this guy shows up, is like, listen kid, I'm gonna take care of you now, and then erases him, knowing that he's gonna be more powerful than him. One day you will defeat me. He tells him about the 10 shadows. Like, I don't want to hear it. Anyway, they're supposed to have this like very wholesome relationship that Gege does kind of sometimes lean into, and some others he doesn't. Like, there's one line, and I know there's like a lot of debate about translations and things like that, but that when Maki's talking about Megumi, and he's like, oh yeah, he's someone Gojo raised carefully, like a treasure, his treasure or something like that. Beautiful show stopping. But then like in other panels, like when they're asking people like, what did Gojo's have to do to you, and he's just like, oh yeah, I guess he's just my benefactor. What is that? What do you mean you're a benefactor? He raised you. Do not even, stop. Anyway, so yeah, sometimes Gege leans into it, sometimes he doesn't, and here he chose not to, and that broke me. I needed that because that was one of my favorite parts. Again, like, characters are the main selling point for me, and their relationships are very important, and the way they're handled matters to me. And this just felt like a fumble. Like, it was just already there in a silver platter, and Gege put it there, and then it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna touch that again. Anyway, so anyway, yeah, Gojo, I'm gonna keep confusing their name, has no reaction whatsoever to Megumi being like possessed. Just like, anyway, and he has no conversations with anyone, and if he does, we don't see that, and I hate that. I hate when important things happen off screen, quote unquote. Like, that was one of my main qualms with Avengers Endgame, which we can talk about in this channel as well. I have a lot of things to say. It's been like 5 years and I'm still angry. But yeah, like when important things happen, quote unquote, off screen, no, then they didn't happen, because I'm the audience. If I don't see it, then what's the point? And you're not supposed to tell me. You're supposed to show me. I don't care that you tell me they had a conversation, because Gege doesn't even do that. They're just like, oh yeah, anyway, the Nanami's dead, and it's like, okay, period. Like, I don't care for you to tell me that they talked about that and that was the reaction, they moved on. I want to see it. And I want to see why. Also, like, just in this entire arc, Gege lets Gojo have no emotional reaction to anything. Like, he doesn't react to Megumi, he doesn't react to Nanami, he doesn't react to anybody who's died in, like, this slaughter, right? Most of them, people he knew. Like, Principal Yaga got, like, literally murdered as a criminal. Like, in cold blood. Panda cried. Even pandas cry, y'all. And this guy was just like, oh, anyway. Like, and we have, like, Gege made a point of, like, showing that Principal Yaga did care about Gojo and Geto. Like, oh, also that, like, that's the thing. The reason I expected so much from Gege It's because I know he can do it. Because girl, we all watched the Hidden Incident arc. Okay? Sorry, Shibuya Incident. Anyway, Hidden Inventory arc. We all watched that. We all read that. And that is the peak of Jujutsu Kaisen. Like, dare I say it's better than Shibuya. That is peak fiction. That is the that action that people love, and that like character drama that I hold so dear, that is perfectly done in such a balance. Oh my, like Giga, I know you had it in you. I know because I read it. So what is this? It pisses me off because Hidden Inventory truly is like an exceptional like victory march of Gege's skills. It's so subtle, but at the same time so out. Like there's a lot of things in Hidden Inventory that Gege doesn't tell you, but you just know because he shows you, but like very subtly, like the way Geto like slowly like slips into insanity, kind of like he's losing it like over like after the death of Rico, the way like the oh my gosh, that like scene with Gojo and Toji, like it's beautifully done. It's beautifully done, like no notes, like that's it. It sets up the entirety of the story because Hidden Inventory happens, like everything that happens in Hidden Inventory is what kind of like tips the dominoes to everything else that is happening now. And like it's crazy to think how much influence Geto has on the story even after he's gone. And he's been gone for a while, and the way that his body was used to capture Gojo, the way his technique has been used to like lure, like it's crazy. Like Gege, you genius. You genius. Okay, like it's beautiful. I love Hidden Inventory. I love GGK0. I don't love the character. I at first, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really care about him. But then when I read the manga and then I watched Hidden Inventory, I was like, okay, y'all know he's pretty, like, he's great. He's a GOAT. What can I say? I mean, was he wrong? A little bit, yeah. But anyway, as a treat, he could go crazy as a treat. But even then, you would, like, oh my god. Hold on, I'm trying to, like, organize my thoughts because I want to touch on many points at once. Because I feel like a lot of people miss the point of Hidden Inventory, even though it was so clear to me. It was so clear. Like, especially with Gojo, like, the amount of mischaracterization I see of these characters is actually crazy. Like, sometimes I wonder if there's people that are reading the same thing I am, because there's no way. There's no way. Like, again, especially Gojo gets such a bad rap. Like, I'm like, sometimes people will have takes on his character, but I'm like, where do you get that? Sincerely, because what? When did he ever, like, he never did that. He would never do that. Like, people say, like, he doesn't care about his students or whatever. Like, no, actually, that's the opposite of, anyway. So, I love Hidden Inventory. And that's how I know that Gege can do it. But, like, after Gojo's liberated, I kind of feel like he just wanted to, like, and I said this, and I stand by this, it kind of felt like he just wanted to end it. Like, I don't know if he wrote himself into a corner. I don't think he did. I think he had some thought ahead. Like, at the beginning when Gojo wasn't sealed, I know he wanted Sukuna versus Gojo. I know he did. Like, I know he must have had at least that in his head. But I don't think he planned how to get there. So when he actually had to unbox Gojo, he was like, wait. Like, I actually have to, like, make an excuse for them to get there. And for me, it was stupid that they waited until December 24th. Like, that makes no sense. I would jump him. Like, if I was Sukuna and Kenjaku and I see this bitch is free, I'd be like, jump him. I'm not waiting. Like, hello? Yeah, that was stupid. That was stupid. And the fact that he has no conversation with anybody at all about what happened and, like, the massacre and the people lost and Mai and, like, Maki being, like, burnt. Like, Nanami's gone. Like, he didn't care, y'all. Like, they literally made him not care. And then everything that happens after that is kind of a blur. Like, I know, like, he fights Sukuna, and at first we were so back because that fight is so godly. Like, I remember reading it week by week. It was crazy in there. Like, it's like, oh, Gojo won. Oh, nobody, like, he got, like, a slash. And Sukuna gets the upper hand. Like, it was really well written. When that gets animated, that will honestly be peak. Like, really good. Until it wasn't. Because then I was like, why is this bitch still alive? Pardon my French. But why was Sukuna... Like, it was good until 235, and if you know, you know. When, like, at the end of 235, Gojo's declared the winner. It's like, Gojo's had the strongest. I'm like, yes, I cheered. I was like, yeah, exactly, get him for me. Because up until now, by the way, everybody and their mother had tried to fight Sukuna and had lost. Okay? Everybody who had faced him had lost. So then Gojo's like, y'all, step aside. Like, step aside. I'm gonna fight him. And he looks good too. Oh no, wait, they jump him after. Which again, stupid. Why didn't they jump him together? Why they have to do this anyway? So anyway, yeah, Gojo's like, okay, Gojo wins, and then 236 happened. And again, if y'all were there, you wouldn't know what it was like on Twitter the 19th of September, okay, of 2023. I remember vividly where I was. I was driving to work, and I told my brother, oh, the leaks are out. Let's see what they're saying on Twitter. And then he literally opened Twitter, and he said, Gojo's dead. And I said, what? And he said, he's cut in half. And I screamed. I yelled. I froze. I was like, you're not serious. He's like, I'm serious. So I was thankfully pulling up to work anyway. So I stopped. I pulled up. I parked. I opened. He was dead. Yo, they killed him. It was crazy. Like, I froze. I froze so bad. Like, because then I started reading chapters from the beginning. And tell me why this guy is in the airport. I was like, why are you in the airport? Where are we in the airport? What happened? You had just run. And then it's like the whole flashback with Geto, and like, and that's why I didn't care for Geto. I was like, I don't want you here. What are you doing here? Why are you talking to him right now? Stop it. But no, he was dead. Because Sukuna had done something with Mahogara, something like that. At this point, I wasn't paying that attention. I froze. Also, can I just talk, like, a little side note? I also didn't like that a lot of Megumi's very cool skills we only got to see through Sukuna manipulating him. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. And I don't think Gege is gonna correct much of that, because I don't think he has time. Like, again, this guy has been saying Jujutsu Kaisen's gonna end for the last, like, 2 years. And I think he really means, like, every time he says it, he means it. But he just can't get there. So he's like saying it until it's true, because I fear so bad. Like, there's some chapters that I opened and I was like, oh, you want this to be over so bad. Like, you're not even, I can tell you don't care anymore. And that's like no shade, because I understand that he's been doing this for a long time. Like, Jujutsu Kaisen has been in print for like 6 years, 5, I don't remember. I understand wanting to move on creatively, but it's also such a disservice to your audience to, like, not even care, give it a proper ending when you're so close. Because we are in the end game, y'all. Like, we are. When Sukuna and Gojo first saw each other on the battlefield, I was like, okay, this is it. We're gunning it to the end. Like, we're almost there, Gege. Trust. But he's been nothing but a disappointment since then. Because, yeah, like, so Gojo dies, right? And then everybody and their mother starts jumping Sukuna, but, like, not together. No, of course not. They go separately. Like, they go one by one. Kashima tries it, dies. Like, Higuruma died at some point. I don't even know. Like, Choso died at some point. At this point, I wasn't even paying attention because I don't care. Again, I'm not much of a... Like, the action scenes are not my favorite, but again, when they serve a purpose, I'm like, cool. But here it just felt like Gege was going through the roster of characters and killing them, and, like, at some point, Miguel showed up, and Miguel from JJK0. I was like, what are you doing here, girl? Like, damn, at this point, we have no characters left. And mind you, at this point, like, again, we're in the end game. What do we know about Yuji? Quick. Exactly. Nothing. Because we know that he's great, and he's the GOAT, and he can punch harder now. And I love him. But what do we know about him? Exactly. What do we know about Megumi? Aside from the fact that he cared about his sister and that Gojo raised him. Right. And that he cares about his friends, obviously. And he doesn't believe to be a hero. Like, he's just a jutsu sorcerer. In fact, I think we might know more about Megumi than we know about Yuji. Name one thing, character-wise, that Gege has done to further, the character develop that doesn't have to do with, oh, he can punch harder now. You can't, because he hasn't. And that's how I felt when Gojo died. I was so angry about his death, not only because I love him, Gojo, my Pookie, but also because it felt like such a disservice to his character. I feel like Gojo accomplished nothing. By dying, it really canceled out everything he had done up until that point. Because Gojo's goal was to... I mean, he knew he was the strongest, right? And there was kind of like a gray morality in that, of course, like... He knew he couldn't protect everyone. But after Rico, it kind of, whole thing. That's a whole conversation. Gojo, nobody gets you like I do. Just know that. But he wanted to protect youth. He says that himself. It's like, kids should stay kids. Like, I don't want him to... Because he had been exploited when he was young, Him and Geto were sent on like these missions and they weighted the world on their shoulders because they were strong. Like he didn't want the same fate. He wanted a world where, you know, younger sorcerers didn't have to endure what he did. And like he wanted to be there for his students. He wanted to fight back in a sense. And he achieved none of that. Like by the time he died, first of all, he was sealed for half the story. And like second of all, narratively, we hadn't seen him like do much. It doesn't feel that way because Hidden Inventory was sandwiched after the first season. Like instead of like made the prequel and it coming out before, it came out after. But like if you think about it, he's not in the main story that much in the first season at all. Like all we see him is like actually develop and actually like change his mindset is in Hidden Inventory, and that's in 2006, like in the current timeline of the manga. So like that was years ago. We actually never saw him do anything else, like character-wise, that wasn't instantly like canceled by the fact that he died. Or like that he was sealed. Like we saw him fight, of course, and we saw him again. Name one thing Giga did to develop a character that wasn't leveling up power-wise. Nothing. Oh my god. And maybe there is. Maybe I'm just blinded by frustration right now. But it really is like a waste of potential to me. Jujutsu Kaisen really feels that way. Because you know what it is? Again, Gege introduces so many cool ideas and so many cool concepts. And you think, oh, he's gotta be saving this for later. Like, we're gonna get to that. We're not. There's some things we just never got to. Like, there's a point where he talked about the clans and, like, the Gojo family. And, like, it seems like a whole thing of politics that I thought he was gonna get into. And he never did. And he never will because the story's ending. And if he does now, it makes no sense. Because, like, okay, whatever. Like, what do we care about this now? Like, also the whole thing with the higher-ups, like, in Shibuya when they're all found dead. And we now know that he's the one who did it. He's, like, people theorize it was Yuta, but it was actually him. Like, this was recently revealed. It doesn't really matter now. Like, it doesn't, like, okay, what do we know about the higher-ups, aside from the fact that they're, like, oppressive and, like, archaic and, like, nothing. Because we never got to, like, really, really dive into that. Like, it feels, like, when you actually sit and think about it, a lot of the Jujutsu Kaisen, like, charm and, like, depth comes from the fandom, ironically. Like, what do we know about any of these people? Nothing. What do we know of the plot? Like, it's very surface level. A lot of things that are very endearing and very dear to me about Jujutsu Kaisen are not even canon. Or, like, are hinted at, but, like, never confirmed or, like, never explored again. Or, for example, yeah, like, the 10 Shadows technique, that's the coolest thing ever. And we never got to see any of it. I mean, I know the story's not over, but I feel we have, like, not that much time left, so it doesn't really matter to me. But we got to see most of it through Sukuna. Do you think I care about Sukuna? No. I mean, I care that he's a great character. Like, he's a great antagonist, obviously. But, like, I'm not rooting for him. Unlike some people on Twitter, they're like, yeah, let him win. Girl, what? You have any idea what kind of a shitty ending that would be? Like, oh, don't even joke. Because, think about it. The ending is near. What did we learn? Aside from punching harder? Nothing. What did these characters learn? Nothing. They're either dead, missing limbs, or more traumatized. That's it. Like, there's no, like... And I think also Gege fell victim. I don't know how much of, fan opinion he was involved in. Or, like, saw all. You know, maybe he didn't see anything, and that's just the way it played out. But I do feel like I feel like he knew people, like, respected him for really taking the extra mile and going there. Like, for example, with Nanami's death, like, that was crazy. But I don't even want to talk about that. It was really well done, though. Like, that was one death I can respect. Because it felt like, no, what as a Nanami's, I could still respect. I was like, okay, like, this is, we're going there. But then, like, the deaths after that, like, a bunch of them, I don't even remember. It just felt like a throwaway. Like, for example, when Higuruma died, did I move? No. I was like, oh, there goes another one. Anyway, like Choso, like, well, I gotta say that Choso has never been one of my faves. I know that's very unpopular. People love Choso. And, like, I like Choso just fine, but I didn't really care. I was like, oh. Because it just felt like another throwaway, you know? Like, he started doing things for a lot of shock value. And there were some instances where it worked, but there's some others where I was like, what was this? In one of those, again, killing Gojo to me still makes no sense. And I know that right now where we are in the story, I think I haven't kept up with it in like the last 2 weeks. I'm honestly, I don't think I can. I'm not really invested like that anymore. I just know he's gonna disappoint me with every character he writes, chapter he writes, and it feels harsh, but it really feels like he's moving on. Like to me, it's just like anyway, because like we haven't seen Megumi in like easily 50 chapters, and I know that again it's like an action thing. I don't really care. You made these people the main character because I think Yuji and Megumi are your antagonists. Is that how you say it? I don't know. Like, they're both protagonists in their own way. And we've barely seen Yuji, even though he's like out there. We barely see him at all. Or heard him or whatever. And Megumi's been trapped in Sukuna's body for God knows how long. Nobody's dead. She's not coming back, y'all. I don't think she is. And if she is, I feel like it's too late to bring her back now. It would feel like a cop-out. I'm not a fan of the theory that she's coming back. Not that I don't like her. I love her. She's great. But I just feel like it would be cheap. Like, I don't know. Because hers is one of the only meaningful bits in, like, I don't know. I have a lot of qualms about it that have been, like, building up over the last chapters. And I just feel like it's bubbled over when, in the recent chapters, like, Gojo was dead, right? But then people pointed out, like, dude, his head is still on his shoulders. Like, they didn't go for the head, period. They can still revive him. Like, Shoko's on the scene. And then his body disappeared from the scene because Uyui came to the rescue. Okay, period. So we're like, oh, he's getting revived as we speak, y'all. He's coming back. And then he shows up. And we're like, period, the honored one, we're so back. Only to find out that it's like an amalgamation of, like, Yuta put his brain... Like, he's controlling him and like puppeteering. Oh, all this to say, by the way, also like Kenjaku died. Like Kenjaku was killed and nobody ever acknowledged it ever again. Like he, like one of the most threatening, most like overarching like antagonists who had this like deal with Sukuna and like a plan. Like he died. He died in the dumbest death in the dumbest battle ever. I did not care. Like Yuta might go. Of course. Yuta, you will never, like, they will never make me hate Yuta. Yuta will go too, okay? Period. But, like, the fact that Kenjaku, like, fought this, like, comedian, I forget his name, but the comedian guy, and then, like, he just died, and then nobody acknowledged, that's crazy. That's crazy. Like, I'm sorry. And I know he probably will come back, but at the same time, under what explanation, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. There's a lot of things that I'm like, at this point, you bring them up, I'm not gonna believe them simply because you haven't earned it. Like, it feels like a lot of the moments that Gege placed to be earned, he just forgot about, and then he's like, oh, by the way, like, either that or he just doesn't come back to them at all. And it's so frustrating as an audience, like, member that has been, like, committed to this franchise, because I care. I want to know what happens to Megumi. I want to know what happens to Yuji. And we haven't seen him in forever. It doesn't really matter. Like, it's just Gege here sending his characters one by one to, like, dance with Sukuna only to get, like, evaporated because he just keeps evolving. Like, at this point, either send Panda on him or just, like, let him win. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, that's what it feels like. So many, like, quote-unquote shocking things have happened that this means nothing. Like, it really does. Like, at the end, what is left? Like, when my goat Yuji eventually puts Sukuna through the, like, concrete. Because he will. Believe. Trust. What is there after the, like, the rubble settles? Because he's gonna get Megumi out. But, like, after that, what else? What do we do? Like, how does this end? It's just like, okay, half of the population's dead. Like, of our, like, cast is dead. The school is destroyed. Like, Tokyo... What is next? Also... Remember that random plot where they went to the U.S.? Like, Kenjaku went to the U.S. to be like, hey, by the way, Gojo's have to do with a sorcerer, and he could generate energy, so you might want to get up there. And they did, and then they just got scared off. Like, what was that? What was that? What was that? Like, you could have taken that screen time to, like, actually expand on things we cared about. What was that? But yeah, I love Jujutsu Kaisen, I really do. I think the characters are great, and the story it was trying to tell was very interesting. But as things stand now... Which, again, as I said, the most recent development is that, like, Yuta is somehow puppeteering Gojo's body against Sukuna. I don't know. It just doesn't... I have no idea where this is going, and I don't think I like it at all. Like, again, you can ask me to put money on how I think this is gonna end. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where this is going. I don't know what Gig is trying to achieve. And I don't think I care simply because it won't feel earned to me. I feel like nothing has furthered these characters, like the main cast, in forever. We haven't seen them, we haven't heard of them. And him focusing on random people fighting, and I know that it's not always random. Like, we know who Miguel is, we know Higuruma, we know Choso. But like, this is not Choso Kaisen, okay? This is Yuji Kaisen. You guys weren't there. Like, I don't care. And it just feels like a lot of what was interesting and very appealing about a story like this has either been written off, never addressed again, or never will be addressed again. Like, just kind of brushed to the side. Like, things that seemed very interesting either got like a very underwhelming like conclusion or just never came back. And I don't think they will, because again, I do think Gege wants to move on, and I think the story will be over within the year. Like, I think he will publish the last chapter this year. Maybe not, maybe early next year, because he's taking a long break right now. But, and I understand, it must be very hard to get these chapters out every week. Like, it's not, I understand. From a creative perspective, like, he must want to move on from this. And, or maybe I'm just, like, totally reading it wrong, and he, like, enjoys this greatly, and this is truly his pride and joy. Which I think to an extent it must be, because, I mean, this is a hit. Like, Jujutsu Kaisen is everywhere. I love Jujutsu Kaisen. It's great. Like, I know I've been ragging on it the entire video, but I really do love Jujutsu Kaisen. I love rewatching it. I love the characters. And at the end of the day, I'm going to be tuned in. Like, for the ending, whatever it is, I'm going to be there. And when it gets animated, I'm going to be there. Because I love Jujutsu Kaisen. But as it stands right now, seeing it play out week by week, it's really not that appealing anymore. I have no idea where this is going. And I am almost certain I'm not going to like it either way, because everything that I was really hoping would happen has already, like, no possibility of happening. Like, so at this point, it's just very frustrating. But anyway, yeah, I have a lot to say about Jujutsu Kaisen. I think I could make another part just specifically talking about, like, character by character. Like, I have a lot to say about Gojo specifically, and the way people have mischaracterized him, and the way people have written, like, entire think pieces of, like, someone he's not. Because the thing is, people nowadays are like, we want more complex characters in media. Well, they could barely handle Gojo. Like, come on, y'all. They're like, oh no. It's I don't know. It's complicated. It's a story that is really good. It has really good elements to it. But yeah, right now it's not very promising. And I know that's very unpopular, because again, people on Twitter, they will not let me say this. They will be like, well, it's not our fault that you don't like it. Like, just drop it. Thank you. No, I will be there. I won't drop it. But like, there's people who are like, I want Sukuna to win, just like Gege shows everybody that like the villain can win. Look around. Think about it for a second. Do you really think that's a good ending? Like, a satisfying ending? Just sit with it. No, you don't have to answer me. You just gotta think about it. Like, everything in ashes, and Sukuna wins, take over the world. Is that the ending that you want? Like, is that how the story ends? Do you think that's a satisfying conclusion? Be honest. Exactly. So anyway. Well, yeah. That was a doozy. I will probably talk about Jujutsu Kaisen again, because right now I'm just, like, letting it all out as I'm thinking of things. But I will probably make a pointed continuation where I don't talk about not the writing style, but like the actual elements of the show that I think went unexplored. I would probably make a list, because the thing is, I'm trying to come up with them right now, and the one I can think of the most, like the clans and like. But I do have a list, trust and believe, so I will find it, and then I'll come back to make a continuation. But anyway, that was my take on Flop Jujutsu Kaisen. Just kidding. I feel that I love Jujutsu Kaisen. Just as a disclaimer, allegedly. Okay? Like, I want to make that very clear. I dearly, dearly care about this series. It's been a part of my life for a good, 40 years now. And I've been invested, like, heavily in all aspects of it. I went to watch the movie in cinemas. It was one of the greatest experiences. Like, I went with, like, my Utah outfit. I loved it. Volume 0. Like, I have a Gojo thing looking over me as I sleep. Like, don't even joke. I'm Satoru Gojo's biggest fan. But, yeah, it's not. That's why I'm frustrated, because I'm such a big fan. So, anyway, let me know what you think. Because I know a lot of what I said here is very unpopular, at least on Twitter. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.